Ephesians 5:22-24. Wives, be in subjection unto your own husbands, as unto the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ also is the head of the church, being himself the Saviour of the body. But as the church is subject to Christ, so let the wives also be to their husbands in everything. A certain wise man, setting down a number of things in the rank of blessings, set down this also in the rank of a blessing. A wife agreeing with her husband. Sirach 25:1. And elsewhere again he sets it down among blessings, that a woman should dwell in harmony with her husband. Sirach 40:23. And indeed from the beginning, God appears to have made special provision for this union, and discoursing of the two as one, he said thus, Male and female created he them. Genesis 1:27. And again, there is neither male nor female. Galatians 3:28. For there is no relationship between man and man, so close as that between man and wife, if they be joined together as they should be. And therefore a certain blessed man too, when he would express surpassing love, and was mourning for one that was dear to him, and of one soul with him, did not mention father, nor mother, nor child, nor brother, nor friend. But what? Your love to me was wonderful, says he, passing the love of women. 2 Samuel 1:26. For indeed, in very deed, this love is more despotic than any despotism. For others indeed may be strong, but this passion is not only strong, but unfading. For there is a certain love deeply seated in our nature, which imperceptibly to ourselves knits together these bodies of ours. Thus even from the very beginning, woman sprang from man, and afterwards from man and woman sprang both man and woman. Perceivest thou the close bond and connection, and how that God suffered not a different kind of nature to enter in from without? And mark how many providential arrangements he made. He permitted the man to marry his own sister, or rather, not his sister, but his daughter. Nay, nor yet his daughter, but something more than his daughter, even his own flesh. And thus the whole he framed from one beginning, gathering all together, like stones in a building, into one. For neither on the one hand did he form her from without, and this was that a man might not feel towards her as towards an alien. Nor again did he confine marriage to her, that she might not, by contracting herself and making all center in herself, be cut off from the rest. Thus, as in the case of plants, they are of all others the best, which have but a single stem, and spread out into a number of branches. Since, were all confined to the root alone, all would be to no purpose, whereas, again had it a number of roots, the tree would be no longer worthy of admiration. So, I say, is the case here also. From one, namely Adam, he made the whole race to spring, preventing them by the strongest necessity from being ever torn asunder or separated, and afterwards, making it more restricted, he no longer allowed sisters and daughters to be wives, lest we should on the other hand contract our love to one point, and thus in another manner be cut off from one another. Hence Christ said, He which made them from the beginning made them male and female. Matthew 19:4. For great evils are hence produced, and great benefits, both to families and to states. For there is nothing which so welds our life together as the love of man and wife. For this many will lay aside even their arms. For this they will give up life itself. And Paul would never without a reason and without an object have spent so much pains on this subject as when he says here, Wives, Be in subjection unto your own husbands, as unto the Lord. And why so? Because when they are in harmony, the children are well brought up, and the domestics are in good order, and neighbours, and friends, and relations enjoy the fragrance. But if it be otherwise, all is turned upside down and thrown into confusion. And just as when the generals of an army are at peace one with another, all things are in due subordination, whereas on the other hand, if they are at variance, everything is turned upside down. So I say, is it also here? Wherefore, says he, wives, be in subjection unto your own husbands, as unto the Lord. Yet how strange! For how then is it that it is said elsewhere, if one bid not farewell both to wife and to husband, he cannot follow me? Luke 14:26. For if it is their duty to be in subjection as unto the Lord, how says he that they must depart from them for the Lord's sake? Yet their duty, indeed it is, their bounden duty. But the word as is not necessarily and universally expressive of exact equality. He either means this, as knowing that you are servants to the Lord, which, by the way, is what he says elsewhere, that even though they do it not for the husband's sake, yet must they primarily for the Lord's sake. Or else he means, when you obey your husband, do so as serving the Lord. For if he who resists these external authorities, those of governments, withstands the ordinance of God, Romans 13:2, much more does she who submits not herself to her husband. Such was God's will from the beginning. Let us take as our fundamental position then, that the husband occupies the place of the head, and the wife the place of the body. Verse 23, 24. Then he proceeds with arguments and says that the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ also is the head of the church, being himself the Saviour of the body. But as the church is subject to Christ, so let the wives be to their husbands in everything. Then after saying, the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ also is of the church, he further adds, and he is the Saviour of the body. For indeed, the head is the saving health of the body. He had already laid down beforehand for man and wife the ground and provision of their love, assigning to each their proper place, to the one that of authority and forethought, to the other that of submission. As then the church, that is, both husbands and wives, is subject unto Christ, so also ye wives, submit yourselves to your husbands, as unto God. Verse 25. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church. You have heard how great the submission. You have extolled and marveled at Paul, how, like an admirable and spiritual man, he welds together our whole life. Thou did well. But now, hear what he also requires at your hands. For again, he employs the same example. Husbands, says he, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church. You have seen the measure of obedience. Here also the measure of love. Would you have your wife obedient unto you, as the church is to Christ? Take then yourself the same provident care for her, as Christ takes for the church. Yea, even if it shall be needful for you to give your life for her, yea, and to be cut into pieces 10,000 times, yea, and to endure and undergo any suffering whatever. Refuse it not, though you should undergo all this, yet will you not, no, not even then, have done anything like Christ. For thou indeed art doing it for one to whom you are already knit, but he for one who turned her back on him and hated him. In the same way then as he laid at his feet her who turned her back on him, who hated and spurned and disdained him, not by menaces, nor by violence, nor by terror, nor by anything else of the kind, but by his unwearied affection. So also do thou behave yourself toward your wife. Yea, though thou see her looking down upon you, and disdaining, and scorning you, yet by your great thoughtfulness for her, by affection, by kindness, you will be able to lay her at your feet. For there is nothing more powerful to sway than these bonds, and especially for husband and wife. A servant indeed, one will be able perhaps to bind down by fear. Nay, not even him, for he will soon start away and be gone. But the partner of one's life, the mother of one's children, the foundation of one's every joy, one ought never to chain down by fear and menaces, but with love and good temper. For what sort of union is that, where the wife trembles at her husband? And what sort of pleasure will the husband himself enjoy, if he dwells with his wife as with a slave, and not as with a free woman? Yea, though you should suffer anything on her account, do not upbraid her, for neither did Christ do this. Verse 26, and gave himself up, he says, for it that he might sanctify and cleanse it. So then she was unclean. So then she had blemishes. So then she was unsightly. So then she was worthless. Whatsoever kind of wife you shall take, yet shall you never take such a bride as the church, when Christ took her. Nor one so far removed from you as the church was from Christ. And yet for all that he did not abhor her, nor loathe her for her surpassing deformity. Would you hear her deformity described? Hear what Paul says, for you were once darkness, Ephesians 5:8. Did you see the blackness of her hue? What blacker than darkness? But look again at her boldness living, says he, in malice and envy. Titus 3:3. Look again at her impurity, disobedient, foolish. But what am I saying? She was both foolish and of an evil tongue, and yet notwithstanding, though so many were her blemishes, yet did he give himself up for her in her deformity, as for one in the bloom of youth, as for one dearly beloved, as for one of wonderful beauty. And it was in admiration of this that Paul said, for scarcely for a righteous man will one die, Romans 5:7. And again, in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us, Romans 5:8. And though such as this, he took her, he arrayed her in beauty, and washed her, and refused not even this, to give himself for her.